Ultra-processed foods, those heavily manufactured with ingredients not commonly used in home cooking like artificial flavorings, emulsifiers, preservatives, and refined starches, pose significant risks to human health, with one of the most troubling being their link to obesity and chronic weight gain. These foods are engineered for hyperpalatability, often combining sugar, fat, and salt in combinations designed to maximize pleasure and encourage repeat consumption. Their structure and formulation make them easy to overconsume and hard to stop eating. Unlike whole or minimally processed foods, ultra-processed options have low fiber and protein content, two nutrients critical to satiety. This means they do little to make people feel full, leading to excess calorie intake over time without a corresponding sense of satisfaction. Scientific evidence repeatedly confirms that ultra-processed foods are directly associated with higher rates of obesity. People who consume these products frequently tend to eat more calories overall and have higher body mass index (BMI) levels, even when controlling for physical activity and socioeconomic status. This pattern has been shown in randomized controlled trials, the strongest kind of evidence in nutritional science. In one such trial, participants eating ultra-processed meals consumed around 500 more calories per day than those eating minimally processed foods, despite having similar macronutrient compositions. These added calories primarily came from carbohydrates and fats, and the participants gained weight rapidly in just a short period. The consequences of sustained weight gain from ultra-processed food consumption extend far beyond aesthetics or comfort. Obesity is a well-established risk factor for multiple chronic diseases, including type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, certain cancers, osteoarthritis, and even neurodegenerative disorders. The metabolic strain caused by frequent overeating, especially of low-quality, high-energy density foods, leads to insulin resistance, increased inflammation, fatty liver disease, and lipid imbalances. Over time, this can set off a cascade of health problems that compound one another. The convenience and affordability of ultra-processed foods make them appealing, but this accessibility masks the long-term biological costs they impose on the body. The psychological dimension of ultra-processed food consumption also contributes to weight gain. These foods are marketed aggressively and are often packaged in ways that encourage impulsive snacking and mindless eating. Their sensory properties, bright colors, crunchiness, sweetness, trigger reward circuits in the brain much like addictive substances, reinforcing habitual consumption patterns that are difficult to break. This food addiction phenomenon, while controversial in clinical terms, reflects a growing recognition that certain ultra-processed foods can hijack the brain's natural hunger regulation and drive people to consume more than they intend, even when they're not hungry. Children and adolescents are particularly vulnerable, both physically and psychologically, to the effects of ultra-processed foods. Early exposure can set a pattern of preference and behavior that persists into adulthood. As childhood obesity rates climb worldwide, there is mounting concern about the aggressive targeting of young consumers through cartoon-laden packaging, sugary breakfast cereals, and fast food marketing. Habits formed in these years become harder to undo later in life, especially when cultural norms and economic pressures push people toward convenience at the expense of nutrition. In sum, ultra-processed foods are deeply implicated in the global obesity epidemic. Their design, content, and marketing all contribute to overconsumption, low satiety, and metabolic disruption. Though often framed as a matter of personal responsibility, the true scope of the problem reveals a systemic issue rooted in food environments, industry practices, and regulatory gaps. While individuals can and should make informed choices, addressing the broader impact of ultra-processed foods requires a societal shift toward whole food diets, better food labeling, and policies that prioritize public health over profit. Until such changes take root, the burden of obesity and its associated health risks will continue to rise, driven in no small part by the hidden dangers of the ultra-processed products that dominate modern diets.